All right. All right, guys, welcome to today's class, biology class. Now, if you remember last week, Friday, I told you that today we're going to be handling the characteristics of what? Of living things. All right. So, if you remember last week, I made you understand the definition of biology. I also make you to understand that there are diverse of branches in biology. And then I also make you to understand that in the characteristics of living thing, I had to help you split it into two. I told you we have primary and we also have secondary. So in the basics of things, we've understood that we have both primary and we have both what? Secondary. So I talked about basically the primary aspect of it. And I told you that it's normal Mr. Ninja what? Dark is Mr. Ninja what? Lack. And then I explained from movement down to what? Respiration, down toward nutrition, down toward irritability or sensitivity. Then I also told you about what? Growth and development. And then I told you about excretion. So I stopped at excretion and I told you that today we're going to be moving to something what? Interested part of it. And that's why I said what? Reproduction. Now, hold on a bit. Let's try to get something right. Remember when I said something about excretion? And I told you that excretion is the removal of what? Solid what? No, I say excretion is the removal of metabolic what? Waste. So it has to be a waste that has undergo what they call what? Metabolism. And if it has undergo metabolism, then what's that going to happen? It means that it is called what? Excretion, and it's also known as what? Oh, we call it what? What? Elimination. You understand my point? You get it? Now, listen to me. I didn't tell you about this. Egestion. What is egestion? Egestion says that I am the remover of what? Remover of what? Solid what? Waste. So solid waste, removal of solid waste. I told you about it, which is your faker action. Your feed it. What you do early in the morning in your various what? Toilet. That is a process called what now? A gesture. So if you're going in the morning, you can tell mommy and dad and that, dad, I'm going to do an digestion process. You understand? Don't say I'm going to the toilet to poo poo. You say I'm going to do some digestion what? Process. At that point, you want to remove your what? Your solid what? Waste. This one is not metabolic, it's a solid what? Waste. Are we together now? So at that process, it's called what? A what? A gesture. So for today's own, let's move on to what? Reproduction. Nah, don't go there. Don't think about that law aspect. We're just going to talk about the characteristics of it. It's basically what reproduction is what? It's all about a bit of it. Do you understand? Now, one thing people tend to make mistake about is very simple. You try to forget that what is the basis of what? Reproduction. Are we good? What is the basis of this reproduction? The basis. Why do I have to do reproduction? People say it's to give birth to new offspring. Hello? It ain't about giving birth to new offspring. It's about what? Very simple. The main aim of reproduction, the main aim of what? Reproduction is to what? The main aim of reproduction is to what? Is for continuity of what? Of life. That's the aim. It's for continuity of what? Of life. It's for continuity of what? Of life. That's the aim. That's why we do it. We don't get that time to do reproduction because we want to give birth to new offspring. The main reason, if you're saying you're giving birth to new offspring, is because you're doing what they call sexual what? Reproduction. Are we together now? You need to understand that why we need to do reproduction. The aim is for what? The aim of reproduction is for continuity of what? of life. That is why animals that have gone into extinction today is because there was no continuity of what? Of life. The last of their kind was what? Destroyed. And they died. And that led to what? Extinction of such what? Animals. A good example is your woolly mammoth. You know, there was no dragon, but there was dinosaurs. If you read the history book of evolution, which we will talk about, you will understand that there was something called dinosaurs in those days, because one of the evidence of what of evolution talks about fossil records, and the study of fossil record is called paleontology, and then it gives us a good explanation of how some parts of some animals were kept, so that they can tell us that, oh, these animals have actually what existed. Are we together now? All right. So now, so if I'm to define what reproduction, I'll tell you that reproduction, listen, reproduction is a biological what now? Process, a biological process that bring about the formation of a new what? Living what? Organism. Again, let me just write it down here for you. I said reproduction is a biological what? Process that bring about the what? The formation of new what? They bring about the formation of a new what? New living what? Of what? Offspring. Are we together? Can we see it? So it's a biological process that bring about the formation of new what? Living what? Offspring. What's the aim? The aim of it, the aim of reproduction is for continuity of life. Is what? Continuity of what? Of life. So get it right. I have to tell you this. The aim of it is for continuity of what? Of life. So since we've already understood that the aim of it is for continuity of what? Of life, then it means that if I'm going to be doing the reproduction, my main goal is that there should not be extinction of those words organism. That's all. We're together. So now look at it. If I tell you what are the types of what? Of reproduction. Types of what? Reproduction. I know you tell me number one is what? Asexual. And number two is what now? Sexual, which you are very what? Correct. But one thing is this, the difference between these two is that one involves two what? Two parents, and the other involves one word. One word, one parent. And one is going to involve gamete, and this one involves no word, gamete. What do I mean by gamete? Male, and what? Female. Sperm, and what? Egg. Are we together now? Are we together? So we need to get the point that type of reproduction has to be asexual and sexual. You don't have to look for one long definition for yourself. You need to just understand that if I'm doing an asexual reproduction, it's a type of reproduction that's just based on what? One parent. And that one parent or one living organism will form a what now? Will form a what? A new what? Offspring. Without what? Fertilization, which means that asexual will have various types. Do we understand? So that's why they call it classes of what? asexual. And that means under the classes, we'll talk about binary fission. We'll talk about fragmentation. Are we together now? We'll talk about fragmentation. We'll talk about spores. All right. So in the real sense, the other one we'll talk about in the real sense, the asexual has its own word, class. Class of what? Asexual reproduction. Oh, good. So you can see why you need to understand this. Huh? Now look at one thing I just need to tell you now. Follow me. Is that I can't say all this now because there's a topic itself that has to deal with what? Reproduction. Are we good? So, so if you're not asked what are the primary characteristics of what? Living things, one word, just tell them Mr. Niger. All right. So this is the primary. This is the what? The primary. If you got any questions, just drop it on the link. Drop it as a comment section. Drop everything there. I'll reply all. We good? Now let's go back. So now that I've mentioned all this, your primary, your movement, respiration, Niger, irritability or sensitivity, growth or what? Development, excretion, and what? Reproduction. Let's not go into one thing now. Let's go into the secondary part of it. The secondary part of it. And what's the secondary part of it? We're going to talk about number one. We're going to talk about the lack, right? And that's what we call lifespan. A is called adaptation. And then C is called competition. You get it? So now, watch me. Let's go about this. Let's ask ourselves a certain question. Why did they have to call it death before? Why are you changing it to lifespan, yo? And you're like, why is this man changing to lifespan before it was called death? This is it. First of all of us don't die at the same time. Animals don't die at the same time. No matter how a rat when a rat get to some certain years, 2 to 3 years, it will die. Some children are giving birth and at that moment they die. Do you get my point? So if you just said death, you said they die. No. All living thing has to pass through what they call the birth rate. They have to pass through productivity. They have to pass through, before productivity, there's something they call maturity. And then there's what? There's death. Before death, these three was what? What's it called? Birth rate, maturity, productivity, and finally, death. So, which means in the time of the birth rate, people die. In the time of maturity, people die. In the time of productivity, that person might leave. And why some people will have to pass through all this stage before what now? Death occur. And the norms in the biological process, it means that man has to pass through living organisms, not only man, living organism has to pass through birth rate, maturity, productivity before what? Death. Now do you understand why it should be called lifespan? Not death. Are we together now? All right, let's go. So if you were taught about lifespan, this is what you have to tell them. The living organism must pass through some certain process, forming process, before the last stage what will occur, before death what will occur. Lifespan talk about the certain age Lifespan talk about the numbers of what? Living what now? The numbers of days or the numbers of years a living organism tend to what now? Exist before what? Death my what? My call. I mean, get. So what would they pass through? They pass through four factors. Number one, birth rate. Number two, maturity. Number three, productivity. And number last one is going to be what? Death. If you got any question, like I said, put it in the comment section. I'll be there to give you a reply. Now let's go back. Lifespan is done. That's why I used to tell you, biology is not notes. It's all about what? Biology is not notes. It's all about understanding. We get. All right, let's go. Let's move to the next one. Adapt what? Adaptation. Adaptation. What is adaptation? Why must I adapt? I'm going to make you understand this word well because so that you don't get confused. When they say define adaptation, don't say it's the process whereby an organism tends to adapt in a harsh condition. You're using adaptation, you're using adapt. It doesn't relate. Do you understand? It doesn't relate. You can't be defining something to use the word. No. Let's take a good look at a good example. You took a time to go for vacation in your mama's house. You left your mama and you left your daddy's house, and then you intend to go to see your cousins. You get it? So now you live in your house to another person's house. We get it? So now when you get to the house, what happened? Not the lifestyle you living in your own house you want to come put down there. You get my point? So maybe in your own house you sleep by 11 p.m. In their own house, they sleep by 8 p.m. At that point, your body tends to what? Will not tend to try to what? To adjust. So another word you could use for adapt, it will have been adjust. So you now have to try to adjust to their own what? Environment. Are we together now? We get. You don't adapt to a natural place. You know, habitat is a natural what? A natural place of a what? Living what? Organism. You don't adapt to such a place. It's a place you will find you anytime in the day. That's your settlement. Except if there's going to be an harsh condition happening in that your settlement, you will not try to what? To adapt. Do we get? So if you define adaptation as the is a biological what now means or biological action whereby living organism tends to what now survive during an environmental what pressure. So living organism will tend to what now survive when there is the what environmental what pressure, which means there's not all the time there's going to be environmental what pressure. Are we together now? It means it's not all the time there's going to be an environmental pressure. So in our body system, a good example, we can talk about homeostasis that helps you to regulate the internal environment of your world, of your system. If you're in a place that is very, very hot, that regulation is your body not trying to adjust to what is happening. That's you trying to adapt. Do you get it now? We get. So that's it. So I said adaptation is a biological means or a biological action whereby a living organism will tend to do what? Tend to adjust itself doing and what? Environmental what? Pressure. I want you must try to understand is this. Just try to understand it. This one thing I need to understand, very simple, is that every living thing must undergo adaptation, whether plant, whether what, animal. Whether plant or animal, we must undergo what? Adaptation. Okay. So now, so that clears the adaptation. Sometimes some people tell you we have three types of adaptation. We have structural, we have the behavior, and we have the word adaptive coloration. We have the structural, we have the behavioral, and we have the word adaptive word coloration. So that is what you must see as, and these are the main three types. All right. So when there's a topic on its own that has to talk about adaptation, we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to deliver more about it. We get all right. Now see what happens. Life isn't about our head. Biology is simple. I used to say biology is the simplest subject in the world. Can't you see it's simple? Ain't hard. Ain't hard at all, man. All right, let's go to the last one. We're ready to go to the last one. We're ready. Let's go. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. And then I've divided body and talk about what? What? Competition. Why am I competing? Why do I have to compete? You go to those jumpers in Nigeria right now. Nigeria right now is, you see people always quitting. We got to kill for what? We kill for what? For feeling in the filling station for what? For fear. Why are we kill for something? Because is it limited? We know that cost is different, right? I just want you to use that as an example. You got to compete for something that you need. Competition is about the struggle for survival. Why? Because the resources is limited. Are we together now? That resources is limited. So because the resources is limited, struggle for it. That's why when they want to define competition in biology, they'll tell you it's a biological process or biological mechanism whereby a living organism will tend to survive. No, not survive. Sorry, living organism will tend to struggle. The struggle for what? Limited what now? Resources. Do we get? That's how they will put it for you. They'll tell you it's a biological process whereby living organisms tend to struggle for what? To struggling for limited what now? Resources. Or where two or more living organisms tend to what? To struggle. Why are they struggling? Because of resources is limited. And that brings us to the point. You know the point it brings us to? What does living organism compete for? Let me tell you what we compete for. They compete for water. Example, people that live in a yard whereby they only pump water once in a day. People will go and run and open their drums and pack all the waters inside there. Why the ones that have left for office in the morning, early morning, about 5 a.m., gone to the workplace, before they came back, people have filled their drums. And then the guy opened his what? His tap. And then no water. And he gets pissed. Why? Because there's limited water. Resources. What? Limited what? Water. Yeah, there's limited water. Those who got the opportunity to fill their drum, they filled it what? Early. Number two things we struggle for, we compete for is food. Food. Some have access to it, while some don't have access to it. Example, two goats struggling for a piece of yam. So there's a piece of yam on the floor. Then two goats just came, man, they what? To feed on it. They had to go into a fight just to feed. Hey, now. We get. Number three is going to be what? Water, food, space. Lion living his wildlife coming into the world, though. The territory of a human. Lion will die. I know you're smiling now. You're like, huh, lion. It's a lion, sir. It's a lion. You let lion take over your house. You find out a mechanism way to kill it.